I'm calling this meeting of the Silver City Town Council to order. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. I'd like to welcome Lieutenant Kuzan, who's also here with us. Mr. Torrietta and Mayor Ladner, it's proper etiquette when you're inside of a building to take off your top hat. Mr. Scavaron knew that, of course. Yes. The next item on the agenda is changes to the agenda, and the councilors have changes to the agenda. Councilor Edison?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, I'm trying to find it now. I'd like to remove new business 12B from the agenda.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I move to remove agenda item 12B from the agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, second.
Councilman Smith. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of moving agenda item 12B from the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is item 4, proclamations, and there are 2. First, since we will be celebrating our Territorial Charter Day this Saturday, February the 7th, 2018, I would like to read the proclamation that was read last year. Whereas, on February the 15th, 1878, the Speaker of the Territorial House of Representatives of the State of New Mexico, Juan B. Patron, presided over passage of an act to incorporate the town of Silver City in the county of Grant, which was signed that day by the governor. And whereas this act of incorporation constitutes the official recognition by the territory of New Mexico that certain rights and powers of self-government shall be granted in perpetuity of the citizens of the town of Silver City. And whereas for 139 years, this year will be 140, this territorial charter has provided a model of local self-government in the state of New Mexico to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of its inhabitants. And whereas, pursuant to Resolution 2016-02, the Town Council of the Town of Silver City deemed it appropriate that the town and its inhabitants shall annually honor the passage of its territorial charter and remember those persons responsible therefor. Now, therefore, I, Ken Ladner, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Silver City, Grant County, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim February 18, 2017, this year will be February 17th, as Territorial Charter Day, and that the inhabitants of the town are encouraged to honor said day with a recollection of the town's history and such celebrations as might be deemed appropriate. We have another proclamation. Since February the 11th through 17, 2018 is Western New Mexico University Quincentennial Week. The city would like to recognize this with a proclamation. Would Mr. Abe Villarreal, Assistant Dean for Student Activities, please come forward to receive the proclamation. Whereas Western New Mexico University was founded on February 11, 1893, as a state normal school for the training of teachers in the thriving southwestern New Mexico mining communities. And whereas Western New Mexico University has made important contributions to the state of New Mexico for 125 years. And whereas Western New Mexico University is located in Silver City, New Mexico, in the shadows of the Gila National Forest near the Continental Divide. And whereas Western New Mexico University is recognized today as the state of New Mexico's only public applied liberal arts and sciences offering institution, and has been continuously accredited since 1942 by the Higher Learning Commission. And whereas Western New Mexico University is a Hispanic serving institution and has made enormous contributions to the state's cultural, intellectual, social, and educational growth of its citizens while remaining firmly attached to its community roots. And whereas Western New Mexico University continues to educate and train thousands of students and professionals in the region through a dedication to educational excellence, academic proficiency, and a commitment to community that has been demonstrated for 125 years. And whereas Western New Mexico University has served the people of the state of New Mexico and its surrounding areas as a comprehensive, regional, rural public university since 1893, and is committed to continuing this service toward a student population diverse in age, culture, language, ethnic background. Now therefore, I, Ken Ladner, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Silver City, Grant County, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim February 11th through 17, 2018, as Western New Mexico University's Quincentennial Week in the town of Silver City, and may this serve as an opportunity to reflect on the past, present, and future contributions of the university.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the rest of the city leadership for your continued enormous support of Western New Mexico University. We've been proudly generating thousands and thousands of proud alumni throughout this last 125 years, and we look forward to continuing to make Silver City our home and a very special place for our students. Go Mustangs.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is council comments. Councilor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Real quick, I know a while back I said something about Western, and so far, our color guard went to do a color guard at Western, and it turned out to be very, very well. I did meet with Dr. Shepard, and we ironed out our differences, and everything is okay. And I really respect that, and I'm honored to do it again as part of a color guard for Western. I had an interesting conversation today with a lady, and she is going to have a meeting tomorrow at what is it? right there by the Knights of Columbus.
Volunteer Center?
There you go, yes. And it's gonna be about bees. About people to want to learn about something about bees, how to do something with bees. Anyway, I would like to invite people to go out there, because I'm interested in it. And hopefully I get to see you guys, some of you guys out there. And I think Councilor Emerson Smith is gonna be there. Tomorrow, right? February at 6 o'clock?
This is a little awkward because, yes,
Okay.
the mayor also, and we have the three of us.
Okay.
We have the four of us, and we'll be there. So
Okay.
we have to be mindful of that.
Okay. But anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to extend thanks to our local community nonprofit radio station, Gila Members Community Radio, for having all of the 2018 municipal candidates on last night. And it was a live roundtable. They recorded it, and it will be replayed, and they will put it out for linking also. That was just in time because early voting begins tomorrow. So I really encourage all registered voters, not in just the contested districts, but all, to go and vote tomorrow. Vote your heart for your candidate in Silver City.
Thank you. Councilor Bedington?
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to commend staff. I received a letter from a resident of District 1 who was thanking the town staff for closing off the access to the hills at 20th Street and Ursula Major. As you and many of you may know, it's taken several years for us to get the fence up and to put no trespassing signs. I know that the letter writer thought that maybe we needed to add more information to the no trespassing signs, saying that folks can walk and ride their horses and bicycle in the area. And I just wanted to publicly remind everyone that the reason for putting up the gate was to stop folks from dumping, but also because the no trespassing signs are because beyond that, the property is private. It is not owned by the town of Silver City. It is not publicly owned. It is owned by private individuals. So if you do walk and bicycle and hike in that area, you should probably get the permission of the landowners, just to make sure. But so that the town cannot amend those no trespassing signs. They are there because it's private property. I don't know if Mr. Brown wants to say anything about that, but we both talked, I talked with him about the letter that I'd received.
Yes, no, we can't amend it because it was at the request of the private property owners. The only part of that area that is public property is that piece of Ursula Major,
Right.
the street.
That connects the 20th.
That connects it. But other than the street itself, everything else is private, and that's where everybody's been dumping and accessing and making the messes, so that's why it's been done.
Thank you. I think it's really important for folks to realize that just because the land appears to be open space, it may not be publicly owned. And be aware that there's a lot of land in that area that is privately owned, not publicly owned by the town of Silver City. So, but I do thank the letter writer and anyone who is up there for saying that, thanking us to help with the traffic and the private landowner, the work that the town staff did to work with the private landowner to get what they needed. I also received a number of thank yous yesterday and some today from a number of residents for the town staff opening up the new public parking off of Arizona that we purchased, and it was in time for Chocolate Fantasia, and everybody is real excited that there's now public parking over there. So big kudos to the staff for getting that done and for the purchase that we had agreed to, I don't know how many council meetings ago, so thank you. I think that's pretty much it, except for I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. And I hope that all of you that can will come out to Territorial Charter Day. I know I'll be there from 12 noon on, and enjoy the town and enjoy all of our different businesses downtown that are going to have specials for folks. So hope to see you there, and thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilor Kano.
Thank you, Mayor. I too just want to mention that on Saturday, February 17th, Main Street has partnered with several local businesses to have Love Local Days, which is a chance for locals to come downtown and get some great deals in several different businesses. They're really excited about this promotion, so hopefully we'll see a lot of locals downtown. And the other thing is the Main Street is hosting a 5K fun run on the 17th, which is Saturday, as part of Territorial Charter Day. And registration for that is at 8 a.m. at the Visitor Center. And it's the registration is 3 cans of food. That's the entry fee, and you get a really cool T-shirt. And they're limited edition, so you really want to do this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? I would echo Councilor Edison's appreciation for that parking lot. And I was just going to make a suggestion. I don't know if it's possible or not, but if there was a sign on Bullard pointing that way for public parking, I think it could be helpful to some people who don't know it's there. But like Councilor Edison, I've heard a lot of good comments about what the city has done over there. Okay. I'd also like to thank all of those who worked so hard, MRAC, their board, a lot of the businesses downtown for making possible a great Chocolate Fantasia Day Saturday. There were lots of people downtown. I don't know if it was a record or not, but it sure looked like it. And I know I met and talked to people from Texas, Arizona, and also a lot of other places in New Mexico. Ruidoso, Las Cruces, several other places. So. And for the council, thanks to Ann Mackey, I put a list on your by your desk there, listing all of the mayors of Silver City, from mayor number 1, who was Robert Black, and it's like 2.5 pages of names, and one of the names you'll notice there is John Fleming, and he was mayor for about 15 years, and he was also on the Board of Regents at the time when the normal school was formed, and at the time that the city gave land to the university, 40 acres, is that it? 20 acres to build the normal school on. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes of the January 30, 2018 regular meeting. Do I hear a motion? Councilor Amos Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting of January 30th, 2018.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
Thank you, Councilor Benson. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is public input, and I see that no one signed up for that, so the next item on the agenda is reports. Our first report will be the annual report by Heidi Ogos of the High Desert Humane Society.
Mayor, councilors, staff, Heidi Ogos from the High Desert Humane Society, and as you know, we have an agreement with the town of Silver City to take in animals, dogs and cats, and so I wanted to go over those numbers for the last year from 2017. The first report if you take a look at it, is the annual animal intake for 2017. And that report is broken down by month and also by dogs and cats, and then also by impound, stray, owner turn-in, and return to owner. And I'm not going to read down all those numbers. You've had them to look at, but we did take in 387 dogs in 2017, 72 of which were returned to owners. And we took in 374 cats, 3 of which were returned to their owners. If you would go ahead and take a look at the other sheet is a yearly comparison going back to 2007. And on the reverse side, you should have a graph that you can take a look at of the ups and downs of the animal intake. Dogs did go back down again. However, intake on cats did go up quite a bit. I know there's a question about why that could be, and I think I can only speculate. I don't have any hardcore facts, but I will tell you that the town of Silver City has a very diligent animal control officer that has really been making a difference in feral cat populations and has been trapping a lot of cats. I think the other reason for the increase is also the warmer weather. We normally have what we call a kitten season, which comes in at about April, and then a second one that comes in around September. And this last year, it came in at about August, and it didn't quit through December. It wasn't until right around the end of the year where we finally saw a drop off in the kitten season. So I think that increases from both of those. Any questions on that at this point? Just a couple other things from the shelter as a whole that I'd like to report. Our Paws Cause Thrift Shop raised enough money to issue out 854 spay and neuter coupons back into the community. And we also adopted out 280 dogs and a total of 195 that were returned to owners. Cats, we adopted out 138 cats and returned to owner 4 cats. Unfortunately, I'd like to see the return to owner on cats go up, and I'm hoping in the years to come with our microchipping program, we will start to see that go up. Because of the nature of our community, not very many people come looking for their cats. They assume that it's returned to the wildlife, so that's a little bit difficult with cats. Our overall euthanasia rate of adoptable animals is less than 20% for dogs and less than 4% for cats, which I'm really, really proud of those numbers. We're much better than the national average. We also have a up and running full crematorium, so we do provide cremation services for your pets here in the community. You can do that through the shelter or through your veterinarian. We also just finished building a new 4-kennel quarantine room, which will help better house the animals that we have from the city and from the county that are being held on bite cases and court cases. So that's a nice addition. And we made a goal of building a new adoption center by 2025, and we are on track with that. We're getting the blueprint plans put together as we speak. Any questions? No?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next report is Mr. Brown.
First, we'll have Carmen Bendelin, the museum director, go ahead and give an update on territorial charter, please. Dave.
The committee is here. Do we want to all stand up here together? Wasn't that the plan, Mr. Mayor? That you could recognize who all has helped in this? I printed out, some things have changed since I had turned in the report. And I printed out a post from the Facebook page for the event that has kind of the running schedule. And if I may, I have copies for the council and Mr. Mayor. I'll come and hand them out to you. Is that okay, so you can follow? Okay. Okay. So I'll just recognize right now the people who've been on the committee working towards setting up these events include Councilors Cano and Ray, Kevin Cook from Freeport-McMurray is here today, Patsy Madrid, who couldn't be with us, Sissy McAndrew, Mike Moronis, who's with us today, Tommy Ryan, Nick Seibel, Scott Terry, Ralph Rieta, who's with us, Danny Vasquez, I don't know if he came to our meetings, actually, Ava Real, who's, I think, already left today, Charmaine Waite, who's not here, Joe Sines, Paul Geisler, Cecilia Bell, Doug Dinwiddie, all participated but are not able to be with us this evening. So this Saturday, the planned events that will run include from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. a hike on Boston Hill. This is newly added, and people who want to sign up for that can contact Sylvine at Royal Scepter and find out where they need to meet to start that hike. And there's a phone number on the Facebook page people can consult. Basically all day from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. there will be tours at historic Fort Bear that people can participate in, and people at Fort Bear will be in period dress. At 9 a.m. there's the Urban Challenge Run, which has already been mentioned by Councilor Cano, and that the sign-up will be at the Visitor Center. At 11 a.m. there'll be a Children's Fun Run in the Big Ditch below 6th Street from 11 to 1 p.m. Oh, Gary Staley, I don't think I had you on our committee list. I think Gary's also helping. So Gary Staley and Ralph Trietta have put together some activities at the Penny Playhouse from 11 to 1 p.m. So you'll see the introductions will be by Ralph Trietta, then there'll be square dancing, Silver City Stompers. Tommy Ryan will be retired Police Chief Tommy Ryan will be telling some of the history of the local marshals. And there will be music. At 1 p.m. there will be a lecture on the history of mining in Grant County given by Virginia McLemore, who's the Senior Economic Geologist, New Mexico Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources, New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology. And that talk will be at the Silver City Grant County Chamber of Commerce and Conference Center. At 2 p.m. we'll have a reenactment at the Silver City Museum Annex building featuring current and former officials in period garb, many of whom are here today. If you can identify our current mayor, Ken Ladner, and former mayor Mike Moronis will be participating again. Ralph Trietta, our county assessor, and Robert Scavron, I believe, will also be participating in costume. Then after the reenactment, there will be a performance of traditional guitar music by Danny Cordova and a performance of the New Mexico song by Ken Kepler and possibly special other guests as well. All day there will be the deals with the local merchants, which Councilor Cano also mentioned already, and there will be a sign-up for a day of service. And this is something I believe you heard about at the last meeting, but one of the elements in the territorial charter is this call for able-bodied men to participate in 2 days of community service every year. And so we're going to reinstate that in Silver City. And so there will be a sign-up, and people can sign up to do those projects. They'll be over 4 days, right, Gary? And
Alex is going to help us do that.
okay, and yeah, so you'll know more details, I'm sure. And there's also going to be a special collector's edition of The Independent dedicated to Territorial Charter that will be coming out on February 15th. So make sure you pick up your copy, everyone. So that is what we have planned this year. Ralph Trietta gave me this image that we have. Is this being used on a t-shirt? This is...
Matter of fact, that I just gave it thanks to Tracy Burnstead from the assessor's office. I'm my GIS person. She actually did the overlay of the actual 2x2 miles of Silver City, and it's quite interesting. And we're going to actually blow it up and display it, hopefully at the annex building for the museum. So I made a couple copies so you guys can take a look at it. Really neat. Thank you.
Yeah, and so that's what we have planned for this year, and I think next year, you know, it'll be even bigger and grander, every year. I think we're increasing the number of activities along with the
Thank you.
reenactment.
Any questions, comments, Councilor Bennett?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one suggestion. I know that the schedule's probably going to be out in the special edition, I would hope, of the Silver City Daily Press Fairchild Charter.
It's available on the Facebook.
Okay, not everyone has Facebook. So I'm going to recommend that we somehow get it up on the town's website and maybe on the museum's website.
Okay.
If possible, because not everyone uses Facebook. There's a whole lot of people that cease to use Facebook as well. So I think in order to make sure that folks know what's available, and if we could do something where we maybe on the front doors of the town hall, that we could just put a copy of it, so that, I know we don't have posters, but if we could just do something where folks, if it's that weekend, they can come up and look and see what's going on.
We can do like we do with public notices. We can put them on, post them up like all the public notices.
That would be,
Locations that are-
I would appreciate it, that would be wonderful, thank you.
Mr. Skyline, you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment. Carmen said that the charter speaks about able-bodied men, but my legal interpretation is that they're using men in the generic sense, and it applies equally to women.
Yes, thank you, because I was going to say something and I forgot.
Mayor, you have in front of you a replica, part of the charter that addresses the public service pit. This was created by students at Opportunity High School and will be displayed at the annex that day, along with some, they probably made 7 or 8 other posters that we will show that highlights Silver City's charter dates. So the mayor came in and spoke to that group, and as a result of that, they got pretty excited about charter days.
Good. Can we have someone read that for us?
Yes,
None of us can see it.
I know, I'll read it. Actually, for the final about singing about the New Mexico song, it's actually Bailo Seco, and it's going to be Estas Lindas Flores by Antonia Apodaca, and that's actually, she wrote it. It's going to be actually changed on
So
that,
are you
okay?
going to read this?
Yes, sir. All right.
Who's the one who-
So, okay, the act to incorporate the town of Silver City, the county of Grant, be enacted by the Legislative Assembly by the Territory of New Mexico. Article 53, okay, Section 2. The inhabitants of the town of Silver City are hereby that the require every male infant between the ages of 18 and 50 years, to the infant of 50 years, it's kind of hard to read, said on said streets, lanes, avenues, alleys, and roads to not to exceed 3 days in each and every year, and every person dealt to perform such labor with a duty modified by the superior shall be forfeited by sums of $1.50 per day and each and every day, so that to neglect and refuse. And in Santiago, last name, Santiago? Okay, I got it. Presidente de Legislature is what it is. It's kind of hard to read, but is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we might point out that life expectancy has increased significantly beyond the 50 years. And also that inflation factored in brings that $1.50 a day to $287 a day.
Thank you.
That's good.
Ms. Vendele, do you have anything else?
No, Mr. Mayor, that is all. Just, I hope everybody will come and participate and have fun on Saturday.
Does the
There's gonna be a lot going on.
Does the council have any questions or comments? Well, then, Mr. Cook, Mr. Staley, Mr. Moronis, Mr. Torrieta, thank you all for coming to backup and support, Carmen. And thank you for all your hard work and all of the things that you did to make this Saturday possible. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor, next I have Jamie Emmerich giving an update on the trail systems.
Yeah, one more thing, please. The advertisement says that there will be former mayors there and former city officials. Former Mayor Moronis will be there, and I've invited a couple of other mayors who said that they would be there. If anyone knows some of the mayors over the past years, you might touch base with them. I've had trouble locating some of them. If any of you know of any former city council people that you could invite, that would be great too. And the same thing goes for city clerk and city managers and every official in city government. Let's have a good turnout. Mr. Brown?
Next, we'll have an update on what's happening with the trail systems from community development. Jamie Emmerich.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As I was preparing this report for you today, I realized there has been a lot of work done. And the first thing I need to do is thank all of the volunteers, especially Bob Shiowitz. He has really been helping to train our new trails maintenance worker, Dustin Gnader, that we hired in the fall. And without the volunteers, we would be starting from scratch with the trails maintenance, and they have really put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, literally. They're out there working once a week with Dustin, so I'd really like to thank them. We did hire him late 2017. He's repaired gates, worked on trailheads, and gated off town right-of-way where four-wheelers were entering on Corbin Street. And he also fixed the gate near the Griffins that people were accessing the big ditch with four-wheelers. Earlier this year in 2018, I took over as the trails coordinator, and we've done a lot of property work since then. The maps have been updated for Boston Hill to show where the private property begins. As you were explaining, all open space may appear open, but it's often private property. So our mapper has updated those. They should be ready to go on the kiosk when it's built at the visitor center. The town manager has strengthened the previous decision from 2011 to update it to no unauthorized motor vehicles on town-owned open space and town properties. The railroad has approached the town to purchase some property on Mill Road, which may be able to be used for trail access. We'll have to see how the survey comes out on that. The boundary alteration with Bruce McKinney was signed this week by the property owners, Bruce McKinney and Mr. Brown, for the town of Silver City. That allows us access to parts of the San Vicente Trail that we previously did not have. That's been in the works for at least the 7 years that I've been with the town. The Saponeros agreed to also trade property with the town in the big ditch, so they now own part of their parking lot that the town owned, and we own their part of the trail. So that'll be finalized and recorded in the next couple of weeks. That's also been in the works for several years. The Andalusian Association easement will be completed within another week or two also, and that's a pedestrian easement across their property. The Town of Silver City Trails and Open Space Advisory Committee that's begun by Mayor Ladner. I reviewed the applications today and replied to Ann Mackey, so that will be coming up in February. I also attend the Grant County Trails Group, so both of those groups will be working together, and I'll be the conduit for that. And as Mr. Marshall says, we will continue to connect the dots whenever possible. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update. Several years of work has come to fruition in the last couple of months. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. And thanks to you and Mr. Marshall and the Trails Committee for all the work you've been doing. And we just received a number of nominations for people to fill in the official Trails Committee, and hopefully we'll be making those appointments at the next council meeting. Thank you. Ann, do you have an election report?
Yes, I'd just like to mention that tomorrow, as Councilor Amon Smith mentioned, is the first day for early voting at City Hall from 8 to 5, and it goes through March 2nd. That's a Friday. Also, March 2nd is the last day that I can issue absentee ballots by mail. So those are important dates. And then Election Day is March 6th. So it's soon approaching. It'll be here before we know it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Brown, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is 11, approval of consent agenda. All items under the approval of the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion in the form as I will read them. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and be considered separately. First is item A, is the approval/disapproval of resolution number 2018-03, adopting a fair housing policy. Item B is the approval/disapproval of resolution number 2018-04, Citizen Participation Plan, CDBG program. Item C is the approval/disapproval of resolution number 2018-05, Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Plan and Certification. Item D is the approval/disapproval of resolution number 2018-06, Section 3 Plan. Item E is the approval/disapproval of resolution number 2018-07, CDBC procurement policy. Are there any questions?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Amon Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the following resolutions. Resolution number 2018-03, adopting a fair housing policy. Resolution number 2018-04, Citizen Participation Plan, CDBG program. Resolution number 2018-05, Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Plan and Certification. Resolution number 2018-06, Section 3 Plan, and Resolution 2018-07, CDBG Procurement Policy.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Badston?
I second the motion as stated.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please, Ann.
Councilor Baniston?
Aye.
Councilor Amon Smith?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Kano?
Aye.
Motion carries. Yes, Councilor Edison?
May I move, I'd like to move for a short break.
Okay, is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion.
All in favor of a short break, say aye.
Aye.
We will take a short break. I call our meeting back to order. The next item on the agenda is new business. 12A, the approval/disapproval of resolution number 2018-08, a resolution in support of New Mexico House Bill 191 and Senate Bill 154, freezing the phase-out of hold harmless funding at 82% and expressing opposition to all further diminution of current hold harmless payments. Councilor Bedison is the sponsor of this resolution. Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. The concern with the hold harmless reimbursements has been ever present since I've been a council member beginning in 2009. And this legislation that we are talking about in here, House Bill 191 and Senate Bill 154, they're both out of the New Mexico the roundhouse. So this is not a federal issue, this is a state issue. It's specifically going to assist the Silver City in maintaining, or at least stopping, if it passes everywhere and the governor signs it, it will allow us to freeze the phase out of the hold harmless in Silver City at 82%. And that will mean that we can continue to maintain what we have at 82% without, it continues at 6% per year, correct, Mr. Brown? So one of the things that's very specific about both these bills is that if we were going to impose the 3/8 hold harmless gross receipts tax that's authorized by the state legislature, our town council feels that doing so would be public harm, and we have refrained from doing that. So not only will this bill assist us, but a total of 6 municipalities, including us, that have not imposed any portion thereof or the full amount of the 3/8% of the gross receipts tax. But this is near and dear to our hearts in Silver City because we are unique in amongst the 106 municipalities in the state, in that we serve as a regional hub, and we get so many folks doing not only their shopping here, but also going to medical clinics and doing other things. We're sort of the hub for a 3-county area, almost a 4-county area, actually a 4-county area in some respects. So when we do a resolution, the point of a resolution is to make sure that it's something that's going to impact our municipality in a positive way, or a resolution that we're opposing because it will impact it in a negative way. We don't take on things that don't necessarily impact our community to any great extent. So federal processes and things like that, we don't really do. We are focused on what things are going to benefit all of you that live in Silver City. And if we actually imposed any portion of that 3/8 of the gross receipts tax hold harmless that we have available to us by the state legislature, that would be an increase in the taxes you are paying on every product except for food. I know that Mr. Brown can probably explain it a little bit more, but my understanding is that Senator Morales is the sponsor of he has a number of other sponsors, but Senator Morales is the sponsor, and he is our senator from Grant County, and worked with the municipal league to develop and craft this particular legislation on the Senate side.
Yes, ma'am. Senator Morales was a co-sponsor, was the main sponsor on the Senate side, and Representative Martinez was the main sponsor on the House side. The bill on the House side has actually passed the House and has been moved over to the Senate side. I believe it's got a couple committees to try to get through before the end of the session Thursday. But hopefully it does pass. Basically what this bill does, it increases the population size from 10,000, the arbitrary number of 10,000, up to 25,000. That's why you get the extra amount of communities. It's actually 12 communities, additional communities that get brought under the threshold of 25,000. But because of the requirement that you have not passed the hold harmless increments, gross receipts tax increments, there's only 6 of us that qualify. The 2 communities that it impacts the most are Silver City and Gallup.
Yes.
Just for your information, Silver City's population, which was 12,250 some back in 2010, the adjusted census as of last year is 9,973. So we're actually below the 10,000 threshold, but because the original legislation from the phase-out says 10,000 population as of the census from 2010. So it would stay that way. So this would really help us. It would freeze it at the current percentage that we are at right now. We're, as of this fiscal year 2018, we're at 82%, and we have been able to cut and adjust operations so that we didn't have to raise taxes. But as everyone knows, if they continue the phase out, at a certain point, even if we pass the hold harmless, we're going to still lose over $900,000. $700,000, excuse me. So this would be a very positive bill for us, and hopefully give the legislature some time to overhaul the tax system so that it's fair amongst all the communities in the state. So that's why I think it's very important that we support this bill.
Are you ready for a motion? So, Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have some public education comment, and I want to echo what Councilor Bedison has said. This is, a resolution at a municipal level really serves generally two functions. We tell ourselves what we're going to do, like we're going to apply for a grant or form a partnership, or in more rare, but it's sometimes more emergency cases, we send a resolution that kind of begs our state legislature to do something that would either benefit or not harm us. And this is a rare opportunity to really request the state legislature to do something that will not harm and therefore benefit our municipality.
Anything else? Ready for a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I move to approve a resolution number 2018-08, a resolution in support of New Mexico House Bill 191 and Senate Bill 154, freezing the phase-out of hold harmless funding at 82% and expressing opposition to all further diminution of current hold harmless payments.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Ann.
Councilor Benison?
Aye.
Councilor Amos Smith? Aye. Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Khan?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The next item under new business is 12C, the approval/disapproval of RFP 17/18-2P, General Engineering Services for Streets and Drainage. Mr. Brown?
Mayor and Council, this RFP was put out to procure engineering services for federally funded projects. Complicated, a little bit more complicated, is there's a lot more paperwork involved in federally funded projects, a lot more requirements. You have to have your RFP for engineering services has to be a lot more specific, and so that's what we've done with this. We've put out an RFP requesting engineering services for our federally funded projects. We currently have two that have been awarded that are awaiting this award to start engineering. One is the visitor center parking lot with the signage and all that stuff that has been awarded, and then the bike lane realignment stuff that we've been awarded. So those we currently have right now, and included in this RFP, we did list almost every federally funded, possibly federally funded project that we could think of, so that way we don't have to put out an RFP again. So we did receive 6 RFPs. It's staff's recommendation that we award the RFP to Occam Engineers, Inc. of Silver City, New Mexico.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Brown? Do I hear a motion? Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve of RFP 17/18-2P, General Engineering Services for Street and Drainage, by staff recommendation to Occam's Engineers, Inc., 3400 Highway 180 East, Suite A, Silver City, New Mexico, 88061.
Do we have a second? Councilman Smith?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as
A
stated.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next item on the new business is 12D, the approval/disapproval of bid number 17/18-2, 32nd Street and sidewalk improvements. Mr. Brown?
Mayor and Council, staff, the town received one bid for the 32nd Street sidewalk project. The project scope was from along the north side of 32nd Street, from Fowler Avenue to the emergency room exit. The total cost would have been $183,782, but because the project, it's severance tax money, and the project went through the DOT. The DOT requires that all bidders be registered with the DOT at the time of the bid opening. Southwest, who is the only bidder, let their registration lapse with the DOT for like a week, and during that week, we opened the bid. So, the DOT will not allow us to award the bid, so it's staff's recommendation to reject the bid and put it out for the minimum days required for the bid, and we'll probably be able to bring it back to you at the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Brown? Do I hear a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to reject bid number 17/18-2, 32nd Street, and sidewalk improvements per staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Councilor Ray?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion to reject is carried. The next item under new business is 12E, the discussion and action on proposed 2018 dates for town-sponsored Charter Days volunteer projects. Mr. Brown?
Mayor and Council, I sent out, and we talked about this at the last council meeting, and I requested from an email earlier last week, I requested some proposed projects and dates that would work for you. Most of you sent me projects. Some of them aren't going to work out, but Councilor Kano just recommended a raised planter gardening thing at the volunteer center for handicapped individuals so they could plant. Councilor Besson did a poop station.
Dog waste pickup station, otherwise known as a poop station, at the top of 19th Street.
Okay, and Councilor Eamon Smith recommended 3 projects, and one was a crosswalk project that you found somebody else to do already. But we talking with Gary, we don't need to get the projects identified completely today, but we need to get the schedule of days together today. Nobody said, other than the mayor and Councilor Bedison, of these days where you couldn't be available. So the one thing is March 17th, we cannot have it with Councilor Bedison and the mayor. So we can have that date with any of the other 3 of you, if you want to try that date in your district.
Don't you want to be involved?
Don't you want to be
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so that one's eliminated completely because the mayor can't be involved in that one. April 14th, Councilor Bedison can't be available, but everybody else can.
Okay, if I know nothing about gardening, but whichever day is best for, as far as seasonal stuff, that's the one I'll...
That was that I think we talked about that, your planter project, if we go with that one, that needs to be in the spring.
Okay.
So how about we say April 14th is one of the days?
Okay.
And then, June 9th and June 30th?
Fine by me. Either one of those dates is good for me, I think.
How about we do June 9th?
Okay, and that would be a good time because it can get a little different up there, so if we can have that.
Okay, June 9th is 2.
It's District 1, yeah.
District 1. And April is District 4. Yeah, and I would recommend we really don't do June 30th because the end of the fiscal year and stuff, that's a really, really busy time of year. August 4th and 11th, I think that's open to everybody.
What about August 4th for District 2?
District 2 to August 4th. And Councilor Ray, when do you want to do it?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
How about November 10th?
No, I'm hunting.
Oh, hunting.
I think it might be the same with November 17th.
How about August 11th?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, that's all Gary really needed was the dates. And then we'll work with you on projects coordinating, okay?
Okay, could you read those dates, because that's what we're going to be voting on.
Okay, April 14th for District 4, June 9th for District 1, August 4th for District 2, and August 11th for District 3.
Okay. So, if anyone misses one of those work days, how much did you say that was worth? Okay, do we have a motion then? Councilman Smith?
I move that we approve the following dates for volunteer work associated with the Territorial Charter Day. April 14th, June 9th, August 4th, and August 11th of 2018.
Is there a second? Councilor Bessemer?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of these dates, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next item on the new business is 12F, the approval/disapproval to reschedule the regular council meeting scheduled for March 13, 2018 at 6 p.m. to March 16, 2018 at 9 a.m. at the Grant County Administration Center. Councilor Bedison, you'd like to comment on this?
Thank you, Mayor. The councilors received in their packet a letter that emailed that I sent to Mayor Ladner requesting the change or the cancellation depending on what the staff needed of the March 13th meeting because I will be attending the National League of Cities, Congressional Cities in Washington, D.C. Over what is my spring break from WNU. So I'll be gone from March 9th through March 15th. And every year, the New Mexico Municipal League Executive Committee and other leaders from municipalities in New Mexico meet with each New Mexico senator or representative to discuss issues of importance to our municipalities in our state. And so last year, one of the things that came up when we were at the Congressional Cities event in D.C. was the fact that the new President of the United States had issued a budget report that called for the removal of all CDBG monies. And we all know how crucial that is. So all of us talked about that. One of the things that I mentioned to our board is the fact that in the fall, when I was at the National League of Cities annual meeting that they have in the fall, I found out from the U.S. Census folks that were there that they would once again refuse to send census forms to U.S. post office boxes. They plan to contact people in person. And I told them in rural communities, That's not going to be an option when the sign on the, out, in the rural area, and even, in our town, it can say no trespassing and you can't go on to the property. So I don't know how they're going to contact people to get the census filled out. And we believe that that's one of the issues that happened to us in 2010 with an undercount at that time, and many of our municipalities faced a similar undercount. Roswell petitioned because they believed they had to hit 50,000, so there's a number of issues in the state.
We were in overcount.
We were in overcount. Yeah, I love it. That's because we were over 10,000. But one of the concerns is that, that funding is determined based on that. And so if we don't have an accurate count, it's a problematic. So I mentioned this to the Municipal League, along with something that had come up with the Department of Justice had requested to add, and there has been no movement on that yet, to add to the census a question regarding citizenship immigration status. And those two things combined can hurt all municipalities, especially rural ones, whether they're in New Mexico or across the state, in terms of there being many folks that will not fill that out because of the immigration citizenship status question if that is approved. So I think it's really critical that, as the person that brought it up, that also someone who's concerned about it, and for me to be able to attend to this, and there's no way I could attend a meeting by phone, unfortunately, because I will be a couple hours ahead in doing whatever it is that I'll be doing on that day, on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Are you ready to make a motion?
Yes, unless there are questions that...
Can I make a comment first?
Yeah.
Sure.
I just wanted to comment on what you were just speaking about with the, when I was at the National Association of Latino Elected Officials meeting in June, the other concern that goes along with that is that the funding for census takers in rural communities has been cut drastically. So those people who are supposed to be knocking on doors aren't even going to exist. So that's another problem. So I know that NLA was part of that, so maybe they can send you whatever they're working on.
Yeah, and they will probably, but thank you, I appreciate it. So, Mayor, with that, and I appreciate Councilor Cano making that comment, I think it's really critical to add that to the league's concern. I move to approve to reschedule the regular council meeting scheduled for March 13th, 2018 at 6 p.m. to March 16th, 2018 at 9 a.m. at the Grant County Administration Center in this room.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second? Councilwoman Smith.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. This concludes the business of the town of Silver City. Do I hear a motion? Councilwoman Smith.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.